Yeah, I'm Pastor, but I'm Angela today, okay? I'm Angela Smith. Of course, we are one sister to another. We're the podcast with information, inspiration, and limitless God affirmations. We're the podcast that have the best doggone guests. But before we have the best doggone guests, guess what we have? The best doggone host. And we've got the best executive producer on the planet who, when it's all falling apart, she rises. And so here she is, y'all. She gave me permission probably about a good I'll say about a good 2 or 3 months ago, to share that we can go ahead and start promoting our new song. Y'all heard it. We are the podcast with information. Oh, yeah, y'all heard it. One sister to another, again, with a podcast with information, inspiration, and limitless God affirmations. We're the podcast that, of course, we don't hang alone. It's myself, Angela Smith, and also Tamara Woodard, who is our executive producer as well as a host. And of course, we got Latanya Birch. Y'all, Latanya is a grandma, and I know y'all missing her, but Latanya is also married. Tamara's married. I'm the only one that's single, just so y'all know, okay? I'm the only one that come into this thing, do this thing, whenever I want to do this thing, okay? But Rod, watch this. I am the one who's right here at intellectualradio.com, and I've got him engineered for me today with Tamara, and that, of course, is the other Winfrey. Y'all, listen. Before we open this thing up, we're going to open up the floodgates in just a minute. We want to make sure that you all know that we're excited that you decide on a Monday. This is our second. This should have been our second Monday, but our first Monday kind of got a little crud, but the Lord delivered us. I believe this show today is going to help to make up for the show we should have had 2 weeks ago. But we're thankful that you decide on a Monday, every other Monday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, to come and hang out with us right here at intellectualradio.com and iHeartRadio station. Listen, go tell your mama, go tell your friend, go tell your sister. This is one of these shows that I believe every person, if you listen, if you open up your heart, you're going to be able to get something out of it, because it really isn't just about hurt, pain. It really is about strength. I need y'all to go out there and tell folk we're at one sister to another intellectual radio. Okay, one sister. Did I just say one sister to another intellectual radio? That is where we are. That's who kind of covers us, right? But we're one sister to another internet radio show on Facebook. We are also one sister to another Media 33 on YouTube. You can hang out with us live. Go to Intellectual Radio's YouTube and hang out with us live as well right there, okay? So all of that is out of the way. We thank God for, of course, enabling us to be here. Y'all, it was storming something terrible earlier today. It was doing that thing today, but God is still faithful, and that's of course why Tamara is not going to be necessarily hanging in the front of us like she always does, hanging in here with us. She doesn't have any power, and so the Lord enabled her, come on here, to get in her vehicle and get us started. God ain't nothing but good. Yes, he is. Listen, I want to bring on really, really quick, because I'm excited about her being here. Y'all, she wrote a book some months ago. She was, of course, that book was published by who published the Gone Girl Volume 2, You Don't Know My Story. Yeah. Sheridan S. Davis is the publisher of this next Woman of Valor. The name of the book is called Good Grief. Her name is Toni Robinson. Will you all please help me give one of Chicago, Broadview, Bellwood, look, all our surrounding areas in Illinois, help us to give Toni Robinson a well ovation. Thank you so much for even deciding to allow us to be your exclusive, right?
Yeah.
We're
Thank
the
you, guys.
exclusive. Oh my God. I am so excited about you being here. Do me a favor, Toni. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself? Share with them. We know you're the author of Good Grief, but I want you to introduce yourself and maybe tell the watchers, the viewers today, tell them something maybe they don't know about you. Go right ahead.
Well, girl from the south side of Chicago, born and raised. 2 children, Antonio, TJ, his nickname is TJ, and Cameron. I'm an entrepreneur, been in business for 20 years in the childcare industry. And actually this is something you don't know, that this is my third book. Well, fourth, I actually published a book, a workbook at the same time when I published this book.
Yes.
So this would be my fourth book being published.
And this is what I'm talking about, because you're a woman who is ambidextrous. So you're here. That's why
Yes,
we only
ma'am.
have the best guests on Doggone One Sister to Another. Okay.
Mhm.
Tony, I want you to share with us. We're going to talk just a little bit today about, well, we're going to talk a lot. The whole show, we're going to talk. We're going to give you some time to really share with us your feelings. And of course, y'all, I don't want her to share every single thing, because what I do want to happen is I do want you all to go out there and I want you to buy the book. I want you
Yeah.
to feel like you need to get the book. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that word today. And I know a lot of times we do not want to talk about it. I was just talking, and wouldn't you, let's go here for a second. Wouldn't you not know we're out here talking about good grief in a time where Nolan Wells has just lost his life, and we still really don't know what really happened. Now,
Right.
Allegedly, they're calling it one thing, but of course, we know that something happened that shouldn't have happened. And so
Yeah.
I'm sure if we were to talk to his mom today, Tony, she would tell us, if I could change the hands of time, yes, I would have shared things differently with my son. But you know what? At the end of the day, us as a country, I'm in shock.
Yeah.
I'm in shock. Mississippi has never been non-racist. Come on now.
They've never been kind to us.
They've never been kind to us. Talk to us just a little bit, Tony, about what you're sensing and feeling even about that right now before we go into the book.
Well, I mean, just like almost all of America, especially Black America, we all can smell foul play when it's right in our face.
Can you stop right there and talk about that?
Yeah. So I have not seen all of the interviews that talked about the autopsy report, but there were body parts missing and things of that nature, and that in and of itself kind of spells out what we all know transpired with that young man. And then me myself having a child that is his age, I have an 18-year-old. I think he was like 19 or something like that.
Yes.
My heart just goes out to the mom and the family, because it's just a tragic situation.
It's just, and I don't think we can go back and say anything at this moment that's going to make you. This is what's really weird too, is that, can you believe there was actually a guy on TikTok who's actually taking his time to explain about who her daddy is or whether or not she's fully Black? Can y'all stop? Are we not thinking? Can you believe this? I say, are we not? What difference does it make if she's a mom that named her child Wells after his grandfather? That makes sense to me if she wasn't married. But who even cares about that? Why are we not caring? Talk to, you know what? To me, this creates great segue about why we talk about grief, what we should be talking about grief. I think I'm disturbed on most days when I go to services and people get up and start talking about, well, I lost my daddy. But this is not your daddy's service. This is someone else's service. Can we please get some decorum real quick? Talk to us, Tony, about why you wrote the book Good Grief. Why did you write that book?
I wrote the book because I was experiencing going through a grief journey. And just, I feel like at my age, I'm in my late 40s, I've had multiple seasons of grief. And I began to recognize something differently happening with me. I began to recognize that I was not grieving in a way that was most comfortable to me as I had in the past, which was kind of avoided, kind of put it to the side. And so the book kind of started off as journal pages. Well, initially I could not journal. See, I like to start off by explaining that I experienced betrayal trauma.
Take your time.
At the hands of a former spouse. And one thing I realized about betrayal trauma is it compromises your sense of safety, it compromises your sense of reality. And in that process, I began to notice that my mind, body, and spirit was experiencing some things that I had never really experienced. I was unable to eat, I was unable to sleep, I was having nightmares. And so once I did start able to journal my experience, it was pretty much me just journaling what I was experiencing in those different regards.
And let's talk about a little bit about, I'm sure when you started the journal,
Mhm.
right? The journaling journey, I'm
Yeah.
sure you probably encountered quite a few folks who was probably traveling through just like you. Why did you decide to write a book about grief though? Why grief
Because
necessarily?
yeah, grief is something that is just not commonly discussed. I think that, sometimes we don't know how to process grief. We don't know how to process grief in what I call a healthy way.
That's
Sometimes
good.
we use different coping mechanisms to put on top of grief when we're grieving situations. And I just really wanted other women to understand that the things that I experienced, I knew that I couldn't be alone. I knew that I was not the only one that experienced betrayal trauma. I knew that I was not the only one that did not understand why my body and my mind was reacting the way that it was reacting. I also knew that, you know, as a Christian woman, I didn't want a spiritual bypass, and I was often told things from other Christian women who knew what I was experiencing, like, girl, you'll be all right. God is good. And I just was like, nah, God is good, and I'm still hurting, and I think that this is something that needs to be discussed.
Period. Period. And I also think that we have to do it with, again, with decorum. We have to do it with some sensitivity. Do it as if we're needing to now teach. I think there's a scripture in the Bible that just talks about forever learning. Listen, so I found a little information right here on Google. Y'all, Google is a friend. Found a little information on Google, and I want us to talk about it just a little bit as we're now talking about Good Grief, the book. Let me ask you this before I start talking about giving a little bit information. I want you to tell us what you want. What do you want the reader to learn about the book? What do you want them to walk away with? What's the walk away?
I want them to walk away with, like I said, knowing that they are validated in their experiences. They are not an anomaly. That is other women that has processed different forms of grief, just like they have. So in the book, we have someone that talks about grieving unmet expectations. We have another woman who talks about grieving the person that she no longer recognized in the mirror. We have someone that was grieving the loss of her mother, father, and grandparents to cancer right when she went into remission of cancer. So she talked about losing people, physically losing people. We have someone talking about a divorce and grieving the life that she once expected to go a certain way. And then for me, I talked about what my body was actually going through, what my mind was actually going through. So I take people in my chapters through my journey of grief. So I just wanted women to understand that they are not alone in their processes. I wanted them to feel seen and validated, that the things that they experience are experienced by us. Sometimes we just want to know that people can relate to us. Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes we're wanting to know that people can relate to us no matter what the journey, no matter what what time in our life we're actually going through. We want people to, of course, experience. Listen at this: coping with grief and loss. It says there's stages of grief and the
Mhm.
grieving process and learning to heal. Whatever the loss you've suffered, there's no right or wrong way to grieve. Talk about that
Mhm.
for us.
Well,
No
yeah,
right
and
or
that's what I talked about in the book. I actually say that there is no right or wrong way to grieve. Um, and it's funny that you mentioned the different stages of grief. That is actually the information that's included in my workbook. So it's an interactive workbook, and that book is
good.
Grief, Growth, and God. Well, I do talk about the different forms of grief. I talk about different stages of grief, and then I talk about how grief actually sits into the body. But no, there is no right or wrong way to grieve. And grief is non-linear. It's unexpected. You can feel like you're in a process of being healed of that situation, and then bam, there comes there's a smell, a thought, a memory that can take you right back into a space of grief. So I've reconciled that healing is continual, and there will be some aspects of grieving that you may experience for longer than you would want, or longer than I wanted.
What I really loved about the way this book was introduced to us, it's right here, it's tagged y'all on her actual window tonight. And of course, that's Good Grief, the beauty beneath the broken. Why
Yeah.
that? Why that title? Talk to us about that.
Well, so I titled the book Good Grief, right? And good grief is almost an oxymoron because
Yeah.
typically you don't find the word good in the same sentence as the word grief.
No, man.
And grief is painful. We know that. It's something that, none of us want to experience, but it's something that all of us will experience at some point in our life. And the beautiful part is not recognized to me in the process, in the earlier stages of the process. But what I realized was the beautiful part about grieving. And it was just kind of like a running theme with all the women in the book is as well, is that God was able to meet us on the other side of grief. There is another side of grief, as a result of grieving well, and as a result of the good things that I did experience. My prayer life has changed. My relationship with the Lord has changed. I'm able to also understand my triggers, things that I had to actually heal, that was not a result of this last journey of grief, but the last journey of grief made it rise to the surface. So there was some other inner workings that I had to do. That was beautiful to me. I understood that I had daddy issues and all these different things. But had I not gone through what I went through, I would have never had an opportunity to heal from it in that way.
So can you recall um, a time in your life
Mhm.
where you have lost someone you really loved, and tell us how today you kind of cope? How do you cope with it even today? Because I'm sure you think about that person.
Um, yeah, my brother. So my half brother passed away, whew, about 9 years ago, and it was not something that was unexpected. We knew that he was ill, and we knew that it was coming, but the way that it hit me, that was unexpected. And so I think that, accepting, I talk about it. Someone asked me, like, how do you cope with a prior grief experience or even
Sure.
something currently? I think it's accepting the loss, really sitting with the feelings that you have as a result, not trying to mask or use coping things, to lay on the loss. But acceptance is really big. In this last season of grief, I think that was one of the hardest things that I had to do, was accepting what happened to me, and why. I just still don't know why, but accepting what happened to me in a way that was, I didn't want to at first because I didn't understand it. But once I accepted the loss, it was much more palatable.
But what a way to even, y'all, at the end of the day, I don't know if anyone is really listening to this, but I need y'all to listen. What a way to share with us about grief. Watch this, and I want you to stick to just what we are. So I asked, what is grief? Grief is a natural response to loss. We've been talking about it.
Mhm.
It's the emotional suffering you feel when something or someone you love is
Mhm.
taken away. something or someone. Often the pain of loss can feel overwhelming. You may experience all kinds of difficult and unexpected emotions, from shock, you talked about, or anger, or to disbelief, guilt, and profound sadness. Talk to us about the pain that you believe you kind of suffered through. And now here you are, Tony, on the other side of that thing. Talk to the people that are watching right now. Talk to us.
Yeah. So my experience, and I said that I experienced some betrayal trauma from a spouse. I was married, I was married, and I experienced betrayal. And it was so unexpected. It threw my whole nervous system into a state of shock. And so my brain was literally hijacked as a result of that betrayal, as a result of that shock. And so, yeah, it was devastating. So I experienced extreme devastation, extreme sadness. However, I do want people to understand that there is the other side of of grief. The book does not end in despair, and neither does my story.
Come on.
My story absolutely does not end in despair. I'm not the same person that I was prior to my grief journey with my ex-spouse, and I'll never be the same. But that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I recognize things easier. I was hypervigilant at one point. I'm no longer hypervigilant. Well, I try not to be hypervigilant, but it is important to be vigilant about things that you see.
Talk to them. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want you to, you getting it in, baby, and I want you to get it in. I want you to talk to the viewers tonight about what hypervigilant is. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you come so self-aware that everything is everything is suspicious. You're suspicious about everything because, like I said, when you experience betrayal trauma, it impacts how you view the world. It impacts your sense of safety, because typically when you experience a betrayal, it comes at the hands of someone who you are deeply connected with, typically someone that you trust or love deeply. And that's what makes it a betrayal. If this was a stranger, it wouldn't be a betrayal. It would be somebody did you wrong, that your neighbor. But so because of that, my sense of safety was compromised. I didn't know who or what was safe anymore. And I'll just go ahead and put it out there. I was married to a pastor. So then that introduced another layer of me feeling unsafe, because there was leadership, betrayal. Not only was this my husband, but this was my spiritual covering. And so to receive a betrayal with someone who holds that type of weight, I became hypervigilant with everything. If I could trust someone that could mishandle me, then everybody must be unsafe, is what my brain began to try to tell me. And then in the process, I began to understand what the enemy's plan was, right? And I don't want to hyper spiritualize it, but it's true. He really wanted to make me lose my mind.
Yeah.
And this is a result of the hypervigilance and the not feeling safe. And, I talk in the book about I couldn't sleep. And then when I was sleeping, I was having dreams. And it was such a violent, not violent in a physical sense, but violent in a spiritual, like mental, like what happened to me really caused me some mental anguish. And so it happened such in a violent way. And it was so shocking. It literally disrupted my nervous system completely.
You know what? And I really think, Tony, the world needs to hear this tonight, and that the Lord made sure that you lived to tell the story. So I want you to keep talking. Talk to us about one other thing. Coping with the loss of someone or something you love is one of life's biggest challenges. I want you to talk to the men and women, young men, young women, the pastors and leaders. Because I'm gonna tell you something. You're hitting some bullseyes tonight, because a lot of us, I remember divorcing and feeling like, why are they asking me, what did I do? I was married to a pastor. Why are they asking me, what do I do? So in a lot of ways, I'm gonna tell you, in a lot of ways, I grieved a long time I mean, and you know, I know a lot of y'all, you know, deep folk, because you know, the saved people don't get depressed. I think I dealt with depression.
I'm
I
sure you.
really, really do. I got to the point where I really didn't need to be outside. I was okay with being I was okay with sleeping a whole day away. To me, something's wrong with that.
Yeah.
Talk to us about big losses, or who you've talked to, Tony, about the big losses and about grief, and give us a couple of steps on how to necessarily deal with it so we don't go crazy.
Well, listen, you said so many different things in that.
Yes, and you can unpack every last one of them.
You said a lot. First of all, you said how, you know, again, we talk about spiritual bypass. And I think it's a lot of people in church, in ministry, they need to be, they're depressed, they're grieving, and they don't want to acknowledge that because they want to hold on to the fact, which we should hold on to the fact that God is good, right? But we also have to acknowledge our emotions, right? Jesus had emotions. He was so stressed that he sweated blood. That is he. So we understand, we understand that the Lord, he was angry, he flipped tables. So I think that a lot of times when you are dealing with a situation, especially when it's disenfranchised grief, right? So disenfranchised grief is the least common discussed form of grief. That is the grief that you experience when you're going through a divorce. That is the grief that you experience when you have a friendship breakup. Or that, you know, so that's the grief that people say things like, oh, get over it, you still crying over him, or it'll be all right, God is good. However, if someone passes away, we know how to address that type of grief. But disenfranchised grief, it makes people feel uncomfortable. It makes them feel uncomfortable that we are still grieving those things, and especially in the Christian community. So that I just really wanted to say that and that was another thing that I had to deal with. It was like, you know, I love God. I think I said it in the book.
Do you love God?
I said in the book, I said, I love God, but how could everything I built in his name be swept from underneath me? That was a like I God, I'm not questioning you, but I have some questions. You know, and I think that betrayal trauma, it has us thinking like, why did this happen? Why did you let this happen? What, you know, and God ain't afraid of our questions.
Period.
He's not afraid of our questions. He's not afraid of I think that our emotions should not be the driving force, but they got to be in the car.
They got to be.
They have to be in the car, because the Lord, I mean, you know, he wouldn't have given us emotions if it wasn't important. So that's the first thing. And you asked me how I would suggest someone to deal with it. Therapy.
Talk to us about it.
And I know that's a taboo word in the church community, but for me, that is what my saving grace was. Jesus. For me, it wasn't God plus therapy. It was God through therapy.
Through therapy. Say that again. Say it again so the folk in the back of you.
I said, for you, it wasn't God plus therapy. It was God through therapy. It was through therapy. And because I understood what the enemy was trying to do, I was extensively, like, I had therapy 3 days a week. That's how much I wasn't playing with this demon and this devil. But as much as I was going to therapy, I was praying. So I had anchor scriptures, and I just had to really remember, out of everything that I was going through in that moment, one of the things that I constantly said to myself over and over again is, Tony, you have history with God. You have history with God.
Come on, Tony.
So that was one of the things that I really had. You have to just go back into your history. I've never experienced this before, but I have experienced some things before. And God was there with me then, and he's going to be here with me now. So
my God. Listen, her name is Tony Robinson. She is the author of Good Grief. And now y'all see why she named it that, Good Grief. Listen at this, intellectualradio.com. Of course, we're an iHeart radio station. I need you all there. We got some of y'all that's watching tonight, but I need y'all to share the actual live, share the video, share the live, share the podcast, and let people know they can also go right there to One Sister to Another Media, One Sister to Another Media 33 on YouTube. They can go to Intellectual Radio's YouTube. They can go to intellectualradio.com and, of course, hit the live button and interact with us, and we'll be able to see some of your comments. And you can also, I think I gave y'all all of that. I need you to share with us, Tony, how they can get the book Good Grief before we go back into our conversation.
They can get the book from my website at iamtony.com. That's TONIE, iamtony.com.
iamtony.com. And can you give them your email as well? It's out here, but I want you to go ahead and share.
My email is info, INFO, at Tony, TONIE, Robinson.com.
One of the major things you said tonight, Tony, was we believe, you believe, I believe, therapy is saving grace. Yes. I will tell anybody, therapy, if you don't want to go crazy for real, therapy can be your saving grace. Tony, and so you wrote the book. When did you even decide, I think I need to get it out there. I think I need to share with others my own journey through this thing. When did you decide to do that?
Yeah, I don't even, if I'm completely honest with you, I don't even know when it went from my journal pages to me just writing it into a book. I went, and that's just how I journal, right? I stumbled onto, and I journal a lot by using my phone notes. I stumbled onto, just probably about a month ago, to some journal notes. I was searching for something else, and this was something that I wrote. It was in like May, April of last year. And it was like at 6:00 in the morning. And it sounded like a book entry. This is before an idea of a book even came about. So I think once I began to look at my journal entries, I was like, they need to read this. They need to hear this. I know I'm not alone. I'm not alone in what I'm experiencing.
And so now you're the writer of Good Grief. Mm-hmm. And of course, y'all, I love this tag right here on her window. Good Grief, of course, beauty beneath the broken. The beauty beneath the broken. Talk to us about some folks who, you said you had some folks who actually wrote with you, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us about some more of those folks who went through the broken portion. And then, of course, you come along as, let's call you the coach, and you get to say, guess what? You're not alone. Yeah. And so we're going to talk about it, and we're going to get free while we're talking about it. And so here we are talking about the book right now.
Yeah. So again, I have invited 7 amazing women to join me in this process. One of the women, Inez Woody, she talked about grieving the body that she once knew. In her chapter, she discusses, and I'm not going to give it all away, but she discussed a health challenge. And then we talked to Teresa Hicks. Again, she talked about how just traumas and things she experienced from her childhood affected relationships that she got into in her adult life. And she talked about how she had to grieve, just like losing herself in that process. And then you have Dr. Cynthia Treadwell. She talked about grieving, just not recognizing who she was and setting boundaries. She grew up all of her life in boundaryless relationships.
Is she some kid to the Treadwells on the West Side?
Oh, I don't know.
You know, it's a bunch of Treadwells on the West Side. Okay.
Oh, really? Uh-huh. It's not a common name, so
not at all.
So now I have to text her and be like, "You got family on that West Side?"
Okay,
I'm gonna ask her.
There, and so you're walking through. You've sat down with them. You guys have collabed this book. How did you meet the publisher? How did you end up meeting our publisher? Because you know she's my publisher as well. I executive published a book, One Sister to Another. Gone Girl. One Sister to Another is my podcast. Gone Girl, Volume 2. You Don't Know My Story. I met her and she brought it to life. Tell us how you and the publisher now connect, and now we bring this whole project to life.
So one of the women who I was looking for a publisher, and I had
Okay.
kind of put it out there. And one of the women who's actually a one of the contributing authors, she referred me to her.
Okay.
Yeah, because I guess she published. The church world is small, right? And I think she published a couple people that I'm connected with in the church
Really?
community in Chicago.
Sheridan S. Davis. Yes. And I think the world needs to know that she's cutting edge. She's not, she's an educator. And I think, and she has this craft about making your vision. Tony Robinson, Good Grief is popping. You have to have the right MO with that publisher to make this type of book really show up on purpose and in its own purpose. Listen at this. Whatever your loss, the person says on Google says, whatever your loss is personal to you. Talk to us about this book and the fact that you decide to get it done, how personal it was for you. And then talk to us about how have you grown since journaling and giving us this project.
I'll answer the last question first. I've
Okay.
always been a journaler. I've always found, I remember when it wasn't called journaling then, it was called writing in my diary. So
Yes.
I remember being a little girl just writing about my day in my diary. And so, that's a huge part of who I am. And so I wanted to make sure that I incorporated that inside of the book. So in the book, you'll find some healing aspects. So there are prayers in the book. There's a space where you can journal after each and every chapter. There's reflection questions where you can answer the questions actually in the book. So journaling is a huge part of my life. Okay. And it was difficult. I think I've always been a transparent person, but I did recognize that transparency and vulnerability are not twins. They're kin. They're not twins. And so, being vulnerable this way in this book and share, I'm the strong Tony. I'm the one who, but to let people know the part of my life that really tried to break me, that was difficult. So yeah, that was the hardest part, was being vulnerable and writing, the vulnerabilities that I was experiencing down, so other people, for public consumption, for people to read it and judge it and whatever. That was difficult for me to do, but I'm so glad that I did, because I've been getting nothing but positive. I just had a girlfriend, and she's somebody I know in ministry. Yeah. I just had her, she ordered the book and she just texted me actually a couple hours ago. And she was like, I'm on the 3rd chapter and I'm done. She was like, I'm so sorry you went through this. And, so she was just like, I have to take a moment and just because it brought out some feelings that I had through my own grief experience. So, yeah.
Talk to us about some of those moments, as a matter of fact, because I'm sure there's no way for us as real women with vigor, there's no way we can get it all in one book. I promise you. Talk to us about some of those feelings, because there are some women in ministry who are watching right now who are probably saying, y'all know what? Y'all, I'm finally at this place. And I'm so glad that one sister to another podcast decided to talk about it. So talk to us, Tony, about maybe talk to us about moving right through some of these feelings and how to at least land at a place where I can tell myself I can go to the therapy. I can call somebody. Talk to us a little bit about that.
About moving through the feelings of being okay with therapy and having a conversation with somebody.
Absolutely. About the grief process. There's a process to processing the grief. Mm-hmm. And so talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, for me, community was very important.
Okay, that's good.
I recognized when I was spiraling and I couldn't call my therapist. I couldn't, there wasn't the therapy session wasn't for a couple of days. So I had to call a friend, or I had to, but I think that is the good thing about having community, is because I had women that were really just like kind of knew. They just knew. And so they would call me and say, get up, get out the bed. What you doing? Let's go to lunch. Let's go to breakfast. You know, get up, get out the bed. And so I think other women, especially women in ministry, sometimes we are told, sometimes we are told when we're women in ministry that we have to cover, right?
Come on.
We have to cover. And a lot of times that comes with a lot of silence. We suffer in silence with certain things that we're experiencing as women, first ladies in ministry. And so I just would encourage every woman who's in ministry, whether you're a first lady or a minister or whatever title you carry, is find somebody safe, get us some safe spaces, be okay with therapy, regardless of what is told to you from back in the day, because we know therapy is so taboo in the church, but you do what's best for you. I think that silence is what's killing. I'm just gonna say it. It's killing some of these women.
Come on here. That part right there.
Yeah, it's killing.
What about the people that tell folks like us to suck it up? I mean, at the end of the because Madea sucked it up.
Mhm.
While granddaddy had two sets, while granddaddy, and we ain't gonna talk about the minister, the pastor in a minute, but while granddaddy had 3 sets of family, he had 3 families, right? Madea sucked it up and still made his dinner, still washed his clothes, still took his check. Come on here. The whole, you know what I'm saying? So what about those that tell us? So the reason why I mentioned that is because here's some facts about grief, and I want you to talk about a little bit about each one, and we're gonna, man, we running out of time, but the pain will go away faster if you ignore it.
That's a lie. That's a lie. The pain is going to meet you at the end of whatever you try to do to mask it.
Come on.
That pain is going to be there. And that's what I realized. That was my situation. Like I said, this time when I grieved well, I realized that some things dated all the way back to I was 10, 12 years old. You know, and I would always just brush it off. I was told by people in the church, oh, you be fine. You still, I just had somebody just recently, bless her heart. She told me, you still crying over that?
You see what I'm talking about? No sensitivity.
Yeah, she a baby boomer. So I got my own little thoughts about that generation.
Right.
You know, that generation, hard, and they had to be hard because the silent generation raised them to be certain. But I was like, yes, I'm still grieving over that. Yes.
Let me even add to that, right? Because my mom is 80, she's going to be 81 or 82. But I also know that the baby boomers don't want, look, the baby boomers, I don't want to know. I don't need to know.
Yep.
Don't even force me to know. Yep. Whereas millennials gonna expose you. If you don't, you better get out there and tell it before they do, because millennials will expose it. I am Gen X. I want to know everything.
Yeah, I'm Gen X too.
You know what I mean? I really do want to know everything. Listen at this. It's important to be strong in the face of loss.
I don't know.
Tell the whole truth, baby.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's important to be strong in the face of loss.
I mean, I think I can see what that person writer is saying, but I think that strength is fabricated when you haven't processed what you need to process. I think we you said what?
These are just facts.
Facts.
So whoever wrote this agrees. I can tell. I'm looking at the little paragraph.
Okay, yeah.
They agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling sad, frightened, or lonely is a normal reaction to loss. Period. Yeah. And so, of course, that's why they're saying it's important to be strong in the face of loss. No, it is not.
No,
it is not. If you don't cry, Tony, it means you aren't sorry about the loss. If you don't cry. Talk to us about that. Do you know anybody who's grieved anything who didn't cry?
I don't know that tears equal.
Come on. And is that necessarily crying? Because isn't there some other ways I can cry other than shedding tears?
Yeah. I mean, I know. Yeah, I don't agree with that at all either.
Grieving should last. This one is good. Grieving should last about a year. Talk about that.
I don't think that there's a timeline that's put on grief. There's no
No.
timeline that can be put on grief. Everyone grieves differently. And it's not, you know, just real quick, I know you're reading something. I know we got to go.
No, no,
My
no. I'm
girlfriend,
with you. We just bringing out more and more and more about where we are going to land when they get this book. Go ahead.
yeah. So there's a such thing as delayed grief, right? And I witnessed it firsthand, and she and I talk about it all the time. My best friend lost her son to gun violence in Chicago about 9 years ago.
Yes.
And I mean, I had never seen anything like it. Like, I was right there with her from the moment she got the call to the funeral. She didn't cry. She was strong for everybody else. But probably about a year later,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it hit her like a ton of bricks. It hit her. I never seen nothing like it. And that's when I was like, this grief thing. My therapist says grief is powerful. That was powerful to me that she said that. She was like, grief is powerful. It tells the mind what to do. And it tells the body how to respond. And so I just wanted to
No. This is right where we want to go. The
Mhm.
one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure I brought enough out that people would be intrigued, that their hunger would be stirred, and that they would want to get the book. Good Grief, Tony Robinson. Of course, I love, of course, this window tag. Good Grief, The Beauty Beneath the Broken. Tony, where can they get the book?
They can get the book on my website, iamtony.com. They can get the book on Amazon, but I've been driving people to come to my Amazon. Come on to my website and get the book. But it's on my website, iamtony.com, TONI.
That's where we want them to get it.
Mm-hmm.
iamtony.com. You can get the book, Good Grief, iamtony.com. Tony, of course, one of my little notes says that moving on with your life means forgetting about your loss. Moving on with your life means forgetting about your loss. Here's the first line of that. A fact. That's a myth, number one. But
Yes.
that's what I should have said. Myth versus fact. So the fact is, moving on means you've accepted your loss, but that's not the same as forgetting it.
No.
You can move on with your life and keep the memory of somewhere or something you lost as an important part of you. In fact, as we move through life, these memories can become more and more integral to defining the people we are. Tony, based upon what you shared with us tonight about this book, I believe this is a great place for us to land and for us to just talk out of the show off this alone. Talk to us about the move on. Talk to us about what is a proper way to move on after grief.
I think a proper way to move on after grief is, again, I talked about community. Now, for me, even though, my grief surrounded church and surrounded church community, I think it was important for me to find a good church home.
Yes.
Someplace that I could feel safe. And now I'm only interested in relationships that will provide me with safety. So that's what I would suggest for someone to do. And then just know your boundaries. Like, I have the amount of boundaries I got now going on, ain't nobody gonna play with me.
What's one of your boundaries? Give me three.
Well, one of my boundaries is no means no. Like, I don't care who you are.
It's a whole sentence.
It's a whole sentence. And that's a boundary for me. Another boundary for me is, and all of them is not relational, right? They
don't have to be.
Adapted. I decide when I want to respond. I'm going to always respond because nobody wants to be ignored. But everything is not an emergency to respond to now.
Girl, you helping.
Yeah, that was something that I just felt like I needed to respond to everything immediately. And I no longer do that. And then one of the other things that is more so relational, I do not desire to be in any type of relationship with someone who does not know how to repair is not important to them. I just realized.
See that again.
I don't desire to be, no longer desire to be in a relationship, whether it's friendship, business relationship, romantic partnership, with someone who does not value repair in a
You
proper way.
just preached right there.
Yeah.
Unpack that a little bit for us. The
Well,
repair,
the
that
repair.
person.
So I've been able to, because of this situation, I've been able to identify when people have more of an avoidant type of personality, where they are, and I'm not, and I've never been. So I do have another book coming out, and the
Okay.
book is titled "Not Your Typical Lady."
Come on here. Come on here.
In the book, and the book is talking about how I've been atypical all of my life. And one of the ways that I recognize that I am atypical is I'm confrontational. Not confrontational in a like a friction type of way, but I don't mind addressing things. I don't mind having hard conversations. I don't mind having a hard conversation if it's going to lead to repair. And what I found is a lot of people would much rather not have the conversation, sweep it under the rug, avoid it, don't want to talk about it. And I believe this is just Tony's thing, right? This ain't for everybody. But I believe that causes more issues in the end because it builds resentment. It builds, all of these
I
things.
think
So,
you have a point.
yeah,
I
yes,
call it dismissive.
yeah, it's extremely
Dismissive grief. Can we call it that? Because I
disrespectful.
promise you that's something. We're down to our last 3 minutes. I want you to share some final thoughts with our viewers, our listeners today. And this, of course, is going to be played. Of course, again, we're Intellectual Radio, iHeartRadio station, you guys. And so you're able to go back. You're going to be able to go back and listen. You're going to be able to go back and find out where you can get the book. She's going to share that with us right before we go. But share with the listeners and the viewers tonight, Tony, some final thoughts. What would you like us to walk away with after reading the book, after purchasing the book?
I would want your viewers and listeners to walk away with understanding that there is another side of grief. Grief does not have to end in despair. Once processed effectively, don't be scared of therapy, don't be scared of counseling, get a community, get a prayer life. There is another side of grief. Now, there are some losses that you'll always feel.
Yeah.
People lose I don't know how it feels to lose a parent or a child. So there are some losses that will sit with you, I'm sure, the rest of your life. However, other forms of grief that you have, there is another side of it. I talk to people all the time and I say there are some situations that we are the victim in.
Come on here, teacher.
We're just the victim in, but we don't have to live in victimhood. And so process that thing, grieve it well, pray, get a good covering, get a community, and just believe and go back into your history with God. Believe that if he did it before, that he'll do it again.
Come on, teacher. Come on. Listen, y'all heard it from her. Tony Robinson. Good Grief is the name of the book. Tony, can you share with us how we can get the book again? Go ahead, share with us. And then give folks your information if they want to bring you in and want you to speak for their women's groups, just to share some insight on some things that you share with us tonight.
Yeah, so again, you can get the book at iamtony.com, TONIE. I saw that you had a different email on the screen. It was ggrief01@gmail.com. They can get me there, or they can get me at info@tonyrobinson.com.
Can you repeat those two again for us?
Yes, ma'am. That's info, INFO, @tonyrobinson.com, or ggrief01@gmail.com.
ggrief01@gmail.com. Now, do you have, how do you want people to contact you if they want you to come and speak or things of this nature for women?
Yeah, they can leave me an email. I check I'm an email checker. So they can leave me an email. You can reach me on Instagram at iam.tony, TONIE, or on Facebook at Tony Nichelle.
We got all of her information is right up here going across our screen, even right now. Tony, thank you so much. Y'all do know that we are the exclusive to the Good Grief book. Did y'all hear what I just said? And I will tell you, okay, I thought I kind of knew what we were going to be introduced to, how this was going to all pan out. Tony, when I tell you, I am going to deal with grieving situations totally different now that I heard you share with us about this new project. Hey, you guys, of course, I am one sister to another. I'm the podcast. We're the podcast with information, inspiration, and limitless God affirmations. We're the podcast that has the best doggone host. Y'all know Tamara, our engineer. Look, Tamara is our executive producer, as well as Latanya Birch, our other host. They're behind the scenes tonight. We've got Mr. Earl Winfrey, the other Winfrey, who is our intellectual radio umbrella and engineer tonight. Thank you, Wanda B, for lending him to us. Y'all, you get to hear our new song as we're leaving out. Listen at this. We're going to be back with you guys, not this coming Monday, but the Monday after next. And all I can tell you is the doggone podcast going to be good. Here's what I need y'all to do. Go get the doggone book, Good Grief. Y'all know she messed us up tonight. Go get the book. My brain is lit now about grieving, challenging situations. We, you girls, of course, we are one sister to another.
Thank
Podcast
you so much for having
information, inspiration, and limitless God affirmations. We will be back on another Monday because it won't be this Monday. Okay, we'll talk to you all later.
Bye. Thank you.